And then they went round the table and you had to say why you picked the cards. So the lady said, well, I'm generally happy, I enjoy making people cheerful, and I'm known as being a happy person. And the facilitator said to her, well, that's excellent. Are there any occasions when it wouldn't be appropriate to be happy? And she sort of, well, I suppose if somebody had had something bad happen to them or a bereavement, it wouldn't be appropriate. And he said, well, that's absolutely true. And then he asked me, why did you? And I said, well, I'm quite a creative person. I like doing new things and I like challenging things. I was teasing him, but he didn't know it, basically. What he'd done to the woman was he chipped away at part of her makeup. She was happy, she was a happy person. And what he'd done is put a little seed in her mind that maybe being happy isn't good. It's a tiny little seed, but it was there. We then produced 2 lists of everything we liked about the company and everything we didn't like. The like list was that, and the dislike list was that. So we pushed the like list and we just looked at the criticisms. And what we had to do was turn every criticism into a positive. So you went through and, well, that could mean that, and that's actually quite positive. So we got rid of that criticism, got rid of that criticism. Then it came down to the toilets. The toilets are a disgrace. They are dirty, ceiling tiles, wall tiles, they smell, men and women's toilets. They're a disgrace. Well, that was turned into a positive because people didn't spend too long in them. Now, you laugh, but what we're touching on is what political correctness is about. Because if toilets are dirty, there's a fundamental baseline that's not acceptable. It's not a question of how long you spend in there. They're dirty, disgusting. But what was done was everybody was gently eased into the fact, well, everything else, not a problem. That's reframing. That's taking one set of views and gently shifting it right to another set of views. And I've gently reframed you today, I hope.
We've got a group of people over here. I think we've got to give this side of the room a turn. Sir? Yeah.
Not a question, but some quick observations on the subject of treason, which you've raised, and also on a local matter. Starting with treason, we are at the start of a major, one of the biggest battles we've ever had to fight, and that is to fight the EU Constitution Treaty.
Yep.
And the basis on which we must fight that is that we already have a centuries-old constitution, and the government and other forces are playing ducks and drakes with that constitution. Now, the 2 examples of treason, one about 4 years ago, several of us, and I think Edward was included, we enacted, we took steps to go into magistrates' courts to exercise what is called misprision. And misprision is if you know of a crime being plotted and you conceal it, you can be charged and found guilty. So this was a laying of information with the help of lawyers into a magistrates' court here in Leicester and elsewhere, and present information about treason being committed by Faulkner, Jack Straw, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown and Derry Irvine. Derry Irvine, because we didn't want him to hear the case against himself at that time. Now, that was my duty fulfilled in presenting information to the magistrate. The ancient statutory requirement is you present it to what was then called the sheriff, and he should take over. Now, you can imagine the consternation, but it was several weeks later that I was told that if I felt strongly about this, the magistrates could do nothing. If I felt strongly, I should go to the police. Now, what was the point of that? The second instance of treason, which I've been involved in, and it comes back to changes, a matter of about 3 years ago, when we tried through Ann Palmer to bring charges of treason. And in part of that, we drew attention to the fact that foreign nationals were being recruited into the British police force, and magistrates from foreign countries were also being appointed. Both of those against our own constitution. Both of those things are debarred. However, we discovered that this was the case and presented the evidence to, I think at that time, John Stevens, who, to his credit, suspended all the magistrates. There were 22 at that time. And in a matter of a few weeks, the law was changed. And of course, it had to be changed in a sense, because otherwise every case heard by those magistrates would have been null and void. So, two examples where whatever the forces are behind all of this, whether it's common purpose or whatever, as I say, playing ducks and drakes with our own constitution. Now, at local level, for information people living in Leicester, on the first occasions I came across common purpose, I write quite a bit in the Leicester Mercury, and the Leicester Mercury 6 days a week has a first-person column on a whole wide range of topics. I opened the paper about 2 years ago and was very, very surprised to see a first-person column on common purpose. Very surprised that the contributor, the young girl who had written this, was an Asian girl. I think she was about 19 or so, and she was employed by a local photographic shop. Now, you used the words about changing people's worlds, Brian, earlier on, and I was very much struck by the fact that this young girl had been completely seduced by attending a common purpose. She was brimming over with enthusiasm. It had changed her life. I was very surprised, went into the website and found, of course, that the editor at that time was on the advisory panel, Nick Carter, on the advisory panel. And I think they rotate these things every now and again. He's not there, the local chief constable is on the advisory panel. One of the things that puzzled me very much about that was how on earth did that young girl get on that course? Frank has mentioned £5,000. I think it kicks off something like about £3,000, etc. I can't imagine that there was any way in which that young girl financed that herself. So these things are going on.
Right. Can I just answer that? Because I will answer the bit about the treason. Common purpose charges for a course. The key course, like Matrix, where you do 2-day residential, that's when they really get you, and a day a month for another 12 months. Costs £3,950 plus VAT. A course like the 2021, which Maria Wallace, Chief of Police, would have done, would have been £9,950 plus VAT. Usually the money's paid out of the public purse. That's why when I ask Plymouth City Council, how much have you spent on common purpose, they don't want to tell me. They're closing care homes, but they can spend money on common purpose, so they don't want to tell me. But you are selected. You can go, if you know where it is, and knock on a common purpose office door and say, I'd like to do the course, and they say, thank you very much. Would you like to fill in this application form? And the application form will ask you for quite a lot of personal information. It basically be psychological profile. What's your job? How much power have you got? What have you liked? What don't you like? Where are you going? Then the advisory board team will select you. And do you remember the comment where I said the man is too Ipswich? That was the advisory board saying, no, we don't think this man's... So you are selected. This is another thing which, as a charity, makes it horrible, because there are vicars sitting on advisory panels saying, no, this person isn't suitable. So they're selected. If they get a candidate who they think is a good candidate in a good position, that they can mould and grow, they will give her a bursary. Common Purpose will pay for her to do the course. That's how it works. So can I do the treason?
Oh, sorry.
Because I think this is very important.
After that, we'll have one more question, and I think we're running up against time.
Okay. This issue of treason is very, very important. I'm going to suggest, and I've got to be careful here, because I admit I am a bit of a newcomer. Some of you have been battling for years and years and years, and along comes the newcomer, and you've got to be wary of the smart-arse syndrome. This is my newspaper, and here's a big article on Albert Burgess and treason. And the headline is, where corrupt law lords fail, ordinary people take treason charges to the police. Okay? Now,